Welcome to the special town council meeting. The meeting is now called to order for the town of Cave Creek, Arizona, March 24th of 2026. If you'll rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have one item on the agenda tonight, and it is the council discussion and possible approval of expanding the scope of the invitation for bid on the possible sale of Desert Hills Water System to include the Desert Hills Water System, Cave Creek Water System, and Cave Creek Wastewater System, and authorize the town manager to amend the professional services agreement with Raftellus to assist with the invitation for bid in an amount not to exceed $114,000. With that, I'll turn it over to our town manager.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to go through a PowerPoint presentation, and a lot of the information I'm going to share the council's very much familiar with, but it helps explain to the public how we got to this point tonight on this particular agenda item. With that, I'll go ahead and go forward. By the way, I have, if questions arise tonight or following the presentation, I have our utilities director, finance director, our attorney is also here, and myself to answer any questions that the council may have. With that, I'll go ahead and proceed. As the council is aware, the United States and the Western region has been experiencing over 30 years of unprecedented drought. This has caused reduced water volume of the Colorado River, which in turn has caused water levels at dams, reservoirs, and power production facilities to decline. This has caused concern about potential damage to infrastructure and costing billions of dollars of investment. Upper and lower basin states have failed to reach an agreement on sharing the reductions of Colorado River water, and the Bureau of Reclamation has stepped in and will be making a determination on resolving the Colorado River situation. Right now, all indications appears to be perhaps more of a bias for the upper basin states, and with the state of Arizona being a junior signer to the 1922 compact, we're probably not going to be coming out very well as a result of this. As a result, the state of Arizona anticipates that there will be significant water reductions that we can sustain from the Colorado River. Already, because of anticipated cuts this year, Cave Creek lost delivery of 386 acre feet of CAP NIA water. In the past, we were able to store this water and get some credits that we anticipate using in the future. In addition to anticipated cap reductions, the Utilities Master Plan has identified the need for an additional 1,800 acre feet of water resources. This is for those that hold parcels that have long-term commitments and certificated areas that allow for, and also for those individual lots that have prior rights for individual connections. Last November, the council authorized staff to initiate an invitation for bid on the possible sale of the Desert Hills Water System based on the anticipated CAP water delivery cuts. An advantage potentially of selling the Desert Hills Water System is that it would allow the town to retain approximately 550 acre feet of CAP water, which, having gone through a recent consideration of purchasing outside water resources, that translates into about $11 million in savings. After initiating the Desert Hills invitation for bid, the town learned that a cut ranging from 20 to 57% of CAP water will be taking place starting January of next year. Staff is seeking town council direction to amend the scope of Desert Hills invitation for bid to include Desert Hills, plus consideration of Cave Creek Water System and Cave Creek Wastewater System. Staff is also recommending that the firm Raftellus assist the town in preparing the bid documents, performing appraisals of utility assets, analyzing the bids received, presenting the findings, and issuing recommendations to council. Raftellus is the firm that assisted the town with the invitation for bid for Desert Hills, and we would be wanting to continue with them. They did all that was asked of them, and we have a very high confidence level that they could perform this project. So Raftellus will also evaluate and perform the financial analysis of a possible alternative, which is an IGA with another municipality that would provide bulk treated water and distributed to customers by the Cave Creek water system. So those are the two aspects that Raftellus will be assisting the town with. The invitation for bid timetable, due to the lead time that it's going to take for staff and providing data and information to Raftellus, who will be preparing and issuing the invitation for bid, receiving the bids and analyzing the bids. It's anticipated that this will come back to council for its consideration, a report with its analysis in October, September timeframe. Staff will continue working on some of the other bridge water solutions that we have been identifying to help us get through these years starting next year with water reductions, like ways of accessing our water storage credits, also reactivating our wells, and also enhancing water conservation efforts. Tonight, the actions being asked of the council is, one, to expand the invitation for bid scope to include the possible sale of Desert Hills, Cave Creek Water, and Cave Creek Wastewater, and authorize the town manager to amend the professional services agreement with Raftellus to coordinate the invitation for bid process by an additional amount not to exceed $114,000. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions of the council, or staff would be as well.
Questions from council?
Okay, I'll start. So tonight, Grady, we're here to approve an IFB, nothing more. I'm wondering, when will the time come when we discuss the philosophical portions of selling our water company and to a private entity? So the pros and cons
Sure.
of public versus private.
Well, at this point, what the invitation for bid is going to do is it's going to provide a lot of what I would call the analytical work. But to your point about the philosophical part of perhaps the community, I think there's going to be a important component where the council will want to hear from the public. And that will be after the council's had a chance to look at figures and numbers. And there will be definitely some forums for the public to participate. So while I showed you August, September would be the date that the council will see the figures, and I believe that will be because of the sensitivity of the data that will likely be in executive sessions. But once it is available to, for the public consumption, that will definitely be public, and they will be made aware of all the information that the council would have seen in an executive session at a later date.
And that will also be before we make a final decision.
Absolutely.
My second question is, what steps are we taking to protect our employees?
Well, that is first and foremost something that both Sean and the deputy director and I are really keen on. We're very concerned about perceptions or concerns from employees. First of all, this is not a done deal. We don't know what the numbers are going to come back like. But no matter what, we want to protect our employees and give them reassurances that that they'll have their considerations taken into account for the possible sale. So as an example, if it appears that the council is moving in the direction of, once they see the figures and they want to consider selling and want to engage in contract, we definitely want to have something in the contract that provides assurance to the employees of their jobs and that there is a transition period that they would be with the new company, and that there's some protections for them that way. And by the way, something like this would probably take more than a couple years to actually, from the time that this comes through, and there's some regulatory hurdles and things like that that would have to go through. And then typically, there would also be a transition period, even if a company is successful for that transition before it gets fully cut over and turned over to the company. So employees would still be definitely on, our payroll and still working for us before they would potentially be working for the new company. So it could be 2-3 years before that even be a reality.
Good, that's good to hear. And I hope our employees hear it as well.
Yes. And we're also planning, Sean and I are also wanting to, after tonight, meet with our employees and just provide some information. They're obviously concerned, and I don't blame them for what the rumors are and not knowing what's happening. So absolutely.
Is it true that we've already had one person leave because of these rumors?
Definitely, I can confirm one for sure has. And it's on top of mind of employees right now.
Thanks, Grady.
Tom?
I'll try to phrase this as a question.
Mike.
Questions are appropriate. As a person who has been here when the water company was owned by J. George, transitioned to Global Water, transitioned to Cave Creek Water, would you confirm that it was recognized that our employees had a unique perspective? They understood the water system, and this was extremely valuable information for anyone who would be buying the water company.
That's a really good point. In fact, my understanding is that the town inherited a number of the employees
Yes.
As part of that transition, and then eventually they were on our payroll. So yes, good point.
Thank you,
Cynthia?
Mayor. And Grady, could you comment on the timing of when the Cave Creek wells would be operational as it relates to when CAP cuts may come into effect?
Yes, I may have the utilities director chime in, but he's been currently working on trying to get them reactivated. He's done some hydrological testing, and I'll refer that to Mr. Cruz Weisner.
Mayor Council. Yeah, our goal is to try and get of the 3 wells that we've tested, at least 2 of them up and are operational by the end of this calendar year. With the 3rd later, we actually have a 4th well which actually had very high arsenic that we're trying to avoid having to equip because of our arsenic levels. But yeah, our goal is to have some of the old wells actually online by the end of this calendar year to allow us to move forward into next year with the pending cuts.
How many acre feet do you think in
production? He's asking, yeah. The 3 wells that we're talking about, we believe can get us close to 400 gallons per minute of flow. Acre feet, I think that's over 200 to 300 acre feet of water out of the groundwater table. The problem we're going to have is that when the Cave Creek water system was started in the 50s, they developed on groundwater wells, but they quickly realized that they weren't sustainable, that they were drawn down quickly. That's why there was a conversion over to this, what was considered a more reliable water supply, the CAP water supply. It was done by 1990. So now bringing these wells back online, we might run into the issue that, again, we don't have a very thick aquifer where Cave Creek is, so we might draw that down. We have to be cautious of that. So we think we can get a few years, which will help us out.
Thank you.
Other questions from council? You had another one, Cynthia? Okay.
I kind of have a follow-up to Cynthia's. So if we were to use municipal wells, would it impact private wells of homeowners?
Bit of a loaded question because as a municipal well, we actually have a permit to run them at the capacity they're permitted at. And then it's a matter of physical availability of that water. You may actually see some impacts to what are considered exempt wells in the area. But it's our goal would be to try and get the resources into the town to make sure our water customers have water supplies. There could be an impact to other private wells close by.
To private wells close by?
Yeah.
So that's primarily in the town core?
Correct. The wells that we're trying to energize are more in the town core along Cave Creek Road, where there's an existing well line. When the town, the private water company built the system, when they actually converted it to the surface water treatment plant, they actually did a pipeline to connect all the wells together to bring it back to the treatment plant site as a backup supply. So we're trying to re-engage that pipeline in effect.
Okay, thanks, Sean.
Yeah.
Other questions down here?
Assuming that we take some cuts here, we might have to activate the drought management plan. When would that come into effect?
Mayor Council, so per the town's adopted 2022 drought management plan, I'm actually supposed to give you a number by October, which would be our projection of our supplies versus water resources for next year. So we believe by July is when the Bureau of Reclamation will issue their 24-month forecast, which usually kicks off how much water will be physically available for the Colorado River, all the users, and then falling back to the CAP canal for the next year. So we'll know that midsummer. And then before October in the drought plan, I'm supposed to be coming back and present to you as far as where we fall within our projections for available water resources to our demands. And then that triggers what drought stage we go up to from 0, which is no issues, hunky-dory. We've been in a drought plan stage 1, which is water watch, all the way up through water watch stage 4. Stage 4 is when our projected supplies are more than 20% short. And then that triggers a bunch of things that are actually cauterized in town code, that allows town council to then start making decisions about what the next steps would be to help reduce water use by customers, including requiring people to actually save water and use less water, and or even implementing new surcharges outside of the rate study. That's actually all was put in place in town code in 2022 when we adopted that plan. But it would be this fall that I would be coming forward with you with that projection. I think October is when we set it in the plan.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll have public comment. Before we start that, I'm going to say that it's going to be 3 minutes, and we have the light system up there. When the light's green, you're in your main part. When it turns yellow, you should be wrapping it up. When it's red, finish your sentence or paragraph, and then we'll move on. This is a time for comment. Questioning on staff. We have very limited things we can say, so we're not going to entertain questions. If you have a question, you can ask it. If someone on council wants to pick that up, they can, but there's not a lot more that we can say on that to fill in some of these blanks. With that, who's our first one?
David Smith.
David?
Okay, David Smith, 4689 East Rock Rose Drive, Cave Creek. Around 2008, 2009, the town reestablished the Water Advisory Committee. At monthly meetings, I asked if the town had considered having an alternative water supply. Later, the present mayor joined the committee, which jointly endorsed having an alternative water supply at a minimum for emergency water to the town. As time went on, the council, where I was now a member, directed the town manager and staff to approach the city of Phoenix with a proposal to establish an interconnect between Cave Creek and Phoenix water system. As this proposal moved forward, there was some discussion for future consideration of having Phoenix assume responsibility for supplying Cave Creek's water needs. This later consideration did not move forward. However, funding was secured for the interconnect, which is nearing completion near the intersection of Cave Creek Road and Carefree Highway. At the present time, it will be essentially a multi-million-dollar insurance policy in case our water pipe down to the Cap Canal breaks. I have no idea if Phoenix has been approached with a proposal to fully utilize the interconnect to provide water to Cave Creek. However, I think it should have done so. If not, the town a few years ago actually did seek interest from commercial entities to take over the Desert Hills Water Company. When the lone potential bidder asked for hundreds of acre feet of water as entitlement and a paid off loan and extra funds, the town stopped pursuing the idea. The invitation to bid for Desert Hills should not include, the invitation, the expanded invitation to bid, if it happens, should not include water, should it consider the water plant operation, cap access, the Carefree wheeling agreement, the interconnect with Phoenix Water System, or any other infrastructure or relationships with other entities. If this approach is implemented, I hope that the public will have an opportunity to review the IFB. Thank you. Not bad, just down to yellow.
Good job, David.
Bill Sullivan,
Good evening, Mayor and Council. William Sullivan, 6033 East Cielo Run North, Cave Creek. I am your chairman of the Utility Advisory Committee. I'm not here on their behalf. I'm here on my own behalf. We have not had a chance to meet and discuss this. The last time we met, we had it on the agenda, but we didn't get any significant information to be able to do so because right now you were understandably keeping that information. The bids had just been received and we weren't entitled to see them, and that was fine. But what I'd like to say is instead of spending $114,000 on expanding this, I think this provides an opportunity for the council to find out what the pros and cons of moving forward are. You have whatever bids you have, put them up in the public, deal with those, see if there is public sentiment favoring a sale of all or part of your systems. And because you can get that with what you've already done, and save the $114,000 for things that are needed in the system now. We know that there are major rate increases, both because of water supply and otherwise, that are going to be coming forward. Let's not spend any more than we have to. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bill Basor,
My name is Bill Basor. I live at 2415 East Rockaway Hills Road, Cave Creek resident. Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, thank you so much for showing up to do the really hard work, because this is tough. I have a few thoughts that kind of concern me. When we discuss the 1,800 acre feet that we need to really fulfill the system, we're not talking that we need 1,800 acre feet next week. We are talking at build out, we need 1,800. Our most immediate problem is the 20 to 55% cut, and that is a big enough problem right there. There is some good news here. Number one, and we really have to thank many administrations that came before this one for getting us ahead of this game. The very fact that, we have the interconnect now means that we have the possibility of using a lot of different sources of water. Before the interconnect, we had no physical method to get SRP water to Cave Creek. With the interconnect, we will have that. We had no mechanism with the town of Phoenix for them to try and supplement what we're doing. So we got ahead of the game there. And I think right now you are considerably ahead of the game looking at the value of the asset. I don't think, in my opinion, that a decision about whether to keep this or get rid of it yet is necessary or called for. I think you need to understand your options. Many times we have seen in the past where Cave Creek maybe didn't make an optimal decision, mostly because they didn't have all the data. They didn't do the analysis. I know that the mayor could itemize several of those things. This is part of the analysis. Now, as we talk about this, contemplating selling this, it kind of feels like we're talking about, putting the kids up for adoption because we think we're about to get laid off. Okay, we're not at that point. There is water out there. There are sources. San Diego just got approved. If we want to pay for their desalinization, they will sell their rights for their share of the river water. We may not like the prices of the water. I'm sure we won't, but it's not a crisis yet. I believe also that we have a 20% firming offer from CAP. I think it's unique to our town. I don't think anybody else has that. And by firming, what I mean is they won't give us new water, but they would help supplant what we have from the cutback. So I'm just a little concerned that we get on a roll here where this seems intensely negative and terrifying and people panic, and I don't want people to leave. We've invested a lot of money in the people in our water department. So let's just move forward, but not jump to conclusions. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
Only 2 seconds.
Almost as good as Mr. Smith.
Bob Anderson,
Hi, Bob Anderson, 4788 East El Sendero. First of all, my background in business was partially in mergers and acquisitions, and I take a look at the water company and I wouldn't buy it. This is a business that has no growth. It's saddled with debt. And if I want to make a 15% internal rate of return on this business, all I can do is buy it with the hope of increasing the prices far beyond where we are right now. And they'd be a terrible disservice to our people and our residents. I think after we spent all the money putting in the Phoenix Interconnect, to contemplate selling this business would be like remodeling your kitchen, spending a lot of money and then putting your house up for sale. So I don't really see the point. We haven't even benefited from this fine investment with the interconnect. And we're jumping to conclusions and jumping to the next step. I think that we need to calm this down a little bit and benefit a little bit from the projects that are undergoing right now, as other people have said, and just put this on pause for a little bit. Overall, I think the thing that we're looking at is not the water business, it's water. We need to do something to get more water. I was doodling around with my bill. Say I take about 10,000 gallons every month. If they doubled the raw water cost in my bill, it'd be about $30 a month, about 30%. That's not terrible. I think that gives us a lot of wiggle room to negotiate for maybe the San Diego solution. I don't know what else is out there. But I think that we should spend some more time and energy investigating other sources of water, because that's really the number one goal, for what we're trying to do here. And finally, I think David mentioned, Phoenix is a great resource, and I think we need to explore more options with them. We have the Desert Hills system right now. That could be a growth area for Phoenix with a chip plant coming in there. Phoenix could annex that. We could tie into the Tremonto side and have a dual supply of water to the town. We have not even explored, to my knowledge, a cooperative agreement where Phoenix would take over our whole system. That might make more sense than trying to sell it. So I think that there's some things that we need to do administratively before we pull the plug on this thing and put it up for sale. So I don't think $114,000 is the right move at this point, but maybe something, if it's going to result in exploring IGAs that can help us source the water that we need in the future. Thanks.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
Bruce Arlen,
Thank you, Bruce Arlen, Morningstar Road. Thank you guys for looking at this. Very, very important. I just have a couple of things to say. I did want to comment and say that I think I wrote this down a second ago, our options, I think we really do know our options, to tell you the truth. I think we know them very well, and they're limited in terms of actual water. Very, very limited. Not impossible, but limited. I would say that the conditions in Cave Creek for water is at a situation right now that we don't have a lot of water. We essentially don't have a lot of water. We know, everybody knows, Arizona and CAP, which we're tied to almost exclusively, is going to have massive cuts of up to, I know this sounds crazy, 100%, but around 77% cuts coming shortly. And the third thing I wanted to, third thing, we subsidize now out of our budget, what is it, about $6 million for the water companies right now. Not too sustainable. And fourthly, Cave Creek does not have economy of scale to run the water companies. So what I say is go ahead. If you want to spend $114,000, go for it. You'll have a report But in certainly my heart, the people I've talked to, and I think some of you know now, that if we get out of the water business, save ourselves from running something that we're not that good at, just economy of scale, we will free ourselves to get water, have water for the residents or the businesses, save $6 million a year, and walk away with some sort of freedom, I think. Thank you.
Thank you.
David Phelps.
Mayor and Council, David Phelps. I think we're at that point with the Utilities Department that we can't afford not to look at this. We can't afford not to spend the money. We can't afford not to explore what others could do for us, given our situation. I think the optimism about having the backstop at 20% still leaves us close to 30% shy, which leaves us below the critical line of being able to make up the water. I think one of the things that I see is, since we've had a lot of good information over the last year, the actual amount of measurable conservation we've been able to obtain, I don't think it's even been measured. I don't think, with the knowledge of the 100 or so accounts that use 50,000 gallons a month, I don't think we know today how many of those people now are trying to use 20,000 gallons, or what the effect of that will be over the next year. So I am very much in support of you guys keeping your hearts and minds open to our new reality, which is we have tied our water woes to a river system that is having, a natural climate disaster effect on us. So thank you for your courage in looking at this, and I hope you approve it.
Thank you.
Janet Moore.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. I was here when we had to buy the water company. We had to do it for our destiny of the town. We had to make sure that we didn't overgrow. So how did we get here? Like, now we want to sell it. Everybody's all concerned. We have to sell it. We don't have the money. What happened here? Maybe we should take a look at our town, and we should look at the potential of our revenue that we can have coming in from tax dollars. Maybe we can look at using the potential of our zoning, like we have not been doing, and create money for that to pay for things. I do not think we should sell the water company. I think we should turn it into a viable business. We own it now. We've put a lot of money into it, and we should not jump ship. I can't even believe that we're talking about this. That's all.
Thank you.
I have no additional speakers.
Okay, I'm going to make the motion. I move that we authorize the town manager to amend the professional services agreement with Raftellus to assist with the invitation for bid in amount not to exceed $114,000.
Second.
Wire had the second.
Excuse me, Mayor. It's a combination motion. Wasn't
Okay,
sure
what's
if
the
you
other-
understood that.
What's the other
It's
part?
the first part is to expand the scope.
Oh, I meant
Include-
that, and also an approval of expanding the scope. Yes, to that contract. And the invitation to bid. A lot of really good comments on both sides tonight. The companies don't get the idea this is a snowball running downhill, because it's not. Municipalities do not sell water systems. It's the other way around. They don't usually buy them. So anything that has the idea that this is a done deal, and just because we're out here doing these things, I personally am skeptical. I know we can run a water system. I know we can do it well. We've been working on that for a long time. We've got a ways to go. There's no danger of losing water on the first of the year. We have at least 4 or 5 different sources of water. We have the millions of acre feet in the Arizona Water Banking Authority. And we're working with CAP and with the Water Banking Authority and the Governor's Office and the Department of Water Resources. And they all know that we will be there if we need it. We will be there. And we had a meeting with CAP. They are the group that puts that together. So we also have our own stored water, 2 years of stored water. We're putting wells back in. We've got conservation, and there are numerous other projects we're working on at the same time to supply the water if this happens. We're at peak uncertainty, and this is an analytical exercise mainly. Raftellus is highly numbers oriented and strategy. And they're doing the calculations that we frankly don't do often enough to be as good as they are at doing them. So it's once again, this is not a snowball running downhill. We're just getting the numbers, and we'll see. We're going to do the best thing for the town. I mean, that's the same thing that we try to do every day, and we're going to do it in this case. The town has made many, many mistakes. Every once in a while, I pull out my top 10 list to go through them, and they all have the same issue. The consequences of the actions were not adequately looked at, and we are not going to make that mistake. We're going to look at this thing from all sides and make sure that we are doing the right thing. The whole state is in the same situation. And there's going to be a lot of water. We have water sources coming at us from time to time for the long range. We need long range water. We've got the short-term water to prevent a huge problem January 1st. But we also need long-term water because of the obligations we have that are out there that we haven't, that they've been around forever. Some of them are decades old that we have agreed to furnish water. So there's no need for any panic. We're going to make a rational decision. And no matter whether this comes in or not, we've got a lot of things we have to get done on conservation and other things. So I'm going to, after that long diatribe, I'm going to be voting in favor of this. Tom?
Yeah, basically what I'm going to do is to emphasize some of the things that the mayor has said. We have one problem. We need water, but there are many solutions. And we are going to look at quite a wide variety of solutions. We've had discussions already. We will do as much of this as we can, as transparent to the public. Some things have to be done in executive session, but informing the public of what's happening to the extent that we can, we really need to do that and make this a matter of a community discussion.
Okay, we'll start down here and move this way. Dusty, what do you think?
So I'm not going to, in response to some of the statements that were made, we've already been exploring a number of options. The problem is the options are limited. They're short term. Long term, the state's in trouble. The entire state, not just the town of Cave Creek. If you take a look at the towns and cities in this state, everybody's in the same boat. Tucson is 100% relying on cap water. They're going to take a big hit. Scottsdale, 60 to 80% per year, depending on the year. It also, we have to take into account, and the reason we're looking at all the options and we haven't made our mind up going this way or that way, how do you compete with somebody who has a property tax that can raise billions of dollars to go get water, where Cave Creek, would you like to, I mean, can we legitimately raise water bills 2 to 3 times what they are currently and still expect to be survivable as a town? Water is going to become extremely expensive. The numbers that people, when they come in and quote, they're more than quite significantly higher than things that we've seen in the past. By like an order of magnitude, the state has a problem, and we are a microcosm of that problem. We're going to be the first of many that are going to have these problems. So we have to do our due diligence to see what alternatives are out there. And we haven't made up our mind yet as to which one we're going to go with. So at this point, we're exploring all of our options to see which one works for the town.
Joe?
I'm going to agree with everything that's been said so far. And also keep in mind that the state gets 80% of their water from the cap, which means 20% is coming from wells and so forth. And I've heard people say, well, I've got a well. Well, you know, if the things really did fall apart, which they're not going to, well, with the infrastructure would go down too, so you can have your well. So this is a problem that everybody shares in the whole state. We are going to do exactly what he said. We are going to look at all the options. We're not just going to jump and throw our cards in right away. And that's really, there's not a lot to say about it. You've heard everything today. We're going to look at all of our options before we make any decisions going forward.
Vice Mayor?
I'd just like to get some statistics thrown out here for a moment so people to have a concept of how expensive acquiring water is going to be, because that's the answer to why now? Why are we thinking about selling the water company? It's not that we really can't afford the expenses today. It's the future. For instance, Sean, what are we paying per acre foot with CAP?
Vice Mayor, Council, I think the current rate is just under $400 per acre foot right now. It's our annual rate, and I expect that to go up next year. The projection are to go up.
Yes, it's projected both for next year, 27 and 28. When we were in the process of thinking about acquiring Harquahala Valley Water, we were going to pay $22,500 per acre foot compared to $400 an acre foot for CAP. So that gives you an idea of the enormity of the difference in expenses that we'll be facing to try to acquire new water supplies. And it's just going to go up. This, you know, the Harquahala Valley deal was already a few months old. So we have a severe decision in the near future to make on how we're going to do it all. And there's still more work that needs to be done on our own system. Our wastewater treatment plant, we're looking at a $10 million improvement in the next few years to move the PAL systems inside rather than outside. So there's enormous expenses. And as somebody mentioned, the economies of scale are so limited for Cave Creek since we only have, 4,400 water customers. And all of that needs to be recognized. When you ask why, this is why. This is why.
Thank you, Mayor. First, thanks to all the community members who commented and shared their ideas, both background ideas as well as current thoughts about decisions on the water company. Last year the town did invest time and money in understanding the water options through Harquahala, what it would cost us, what the timing could be, and we learned a lot from that exercise. So I see this option of going forward with more information, both in terms of what is the value of our water company and wastewater company, as well as where do we fit in the big picture of other providers. So by keeping that analysis going, we will definitely have more information to make an informed decision, both as it impacts Cave Creek residents, both water users and non, because it does pull into effect use of our general funds, as well as our neighbors in Desert Hills who are impacted by a different provider if that becomes a choice as well. So I really appreciate the public input and want to keep hearing from all of you.
Tom?
Thank you. Some of you here on the council were present, and I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago at the library when the General Outside Counsel for the Arizona Department of Water Resources came in and gave a presentation. Rita Pearson, who herself is a former director of that agency. And God, I wish we could have had her tonight and had her make the presentation, because we always had 7 of us attempting to talk about an issue which is probably above everybody's pay grade, that's much more complex and it changes daily and so forth. And the whole surreal premise that water can be on paper as well as liquid is uniquely Arizonans, but no less troubling. I would suggest, Mr. Mayor, that maybe before the summer starts, it would be really an insightful opportunity to ask Rita McGuire, to come up here for a session, either in combination with another meeting or special, to provide the ability for the community to ask questions directly of her, which they did that night at the library. The library group kind of scooped the town, but it was a rare evening where the setting was intimate in terms of the crowd was probably under 50 and you could ask questions of her at the end. And she was there to give a forecast, which I think everybody there gulped at when they heard it. But it seemed to summarize and it seemed to focus on the brutal reality of what we've spent so long talking about, not tonight, but over the history of water in this community, starting with the original acquisition of the water company. So I just would suggest, if it's feasible, to have her come up and be part of an agenda or come up and take questions. If maybe there's not time for a full presentation, perhaps she could update the council or take written questions from the audience related to where the state and the town is at that time. But it was an amazing access to a resource that we otherwise, have not availed ourselves. And I felt like I was getting an inside seat at a table that we as a town otherwise would have no access to. So I clearly support the motion that you're doing this evening that you've offered. But God, I wish we could get that level of expertise, history, and understanding on the front line with the people that live in the community, so they would understand that there truly is no water. Wet water, paper water, there's a lot of machinations with moving everything. And there's promises and commitments and plans and policies and so forth. And I just think that coming from the agency, we might get more precise information by early summer than what we're able to advocate for this evening. So that's just a suggestion, Mr. Mayor, but I support the motion clearly.
Well, we're having CAP will be here tomorrow.
Right.
And we've had the head of the president of CAP, and we met with the director also. So those things have been happening. Okay. So with that, we made the motion. It's been seconded. We've had our questions. So all those in favor of this signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. That's the only thing on the agenda. If there are no objections, we will adjourn. Meeting adjourned.